It's not how much weight you can lift. It's not how great that you look. Those things are byproducts to the process. Those are the cherries on top, right? But you have to have a much larger base on a pyramid in order for it to be of any value.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good is in the Details. I am your host, Gwendolyn Dolske. This episode will be talking about fitness and health and coaching, and also what does it mean to have a business during lockdown. The owner of Pendulum Fitness, Drew Girton, is going to be sharing his thoughts, and I'm excited to have him on the show. You may have heard me talk about Pendulum before. This is a place where I have been working out for the last 6 years, and in the craziness of the last 6 years of my life, but I mean, everyone's life is crazy, I guess. Well, maybe not, just me. But at any rate, this has been a constant, and I really appreciate the coaching, I appreciate the support, I appreciate the community, and it is really a treat for me to be able to share the owner's thoughts and philosophy on his business. If you're interested in more about it, you can go to pendulum.fit. And if you have any questions about this episode, you can always reach out at goodisinthetheDetailspod@gmail.com. And if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. That helps us gain a broader audience. And if you'd like to become a patron of the show, you can go to patreon.com/goodisinthethdetails. Okay, and here's the interview. Okay, well, Drew, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Rudy, give us your Twitter handle.
My Twitter handle is all one word. It's Salo Rudy. That's
Perfect.
Me on Twitter. If anybody would care to follow me. If anyone wants to follow me on Instagram, it's RudySS77.
Got it. So, Rudy, we're going to be talking about fitness.
That's why I brought up the Instagram. I was just saying, if people want to, put a face to the voice and a body to the voice and skinny legs to the voice, they can take a look at Instagram.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, Drew, the owner of Pendulum. So we're calling it Pendulum Fitness now, right?
That's right.
When I started, it was a different name, but you've evolved.
We have.
Tell us about that evolution from the beginning of your business to where you are now.
Yeah. So Pendulum started formerly known as CrossFit Pendulum. And what we did with our concept was that we knew that we wanted to be able to appeal to an audience, have some traction, get some marketing out there that would allow for people to know exactly what we do. Because what happens with a lot of fitness gyms is that if you say, our name is XYZ Fitness, well, what do you do? Like, what makes you different? What's your niche? What's your specialty? And for us, we really liked CrossFit at the time. We still love CrossFit, and we still do CrossFit. But what happened is that CrossFit was having a lot of success, and you could just type it into Google and you would see this, people would just show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were looking for a certain type of fitness, and they knew what they were almost kind of getting with it. And they also knew that people got really amazing results doing it. So that's where we said at the beginning, we'll start with, CrossFit Pendulum. And the reason why CrossFit was put before Pendulum was because, once again, branding, right? They weren't coming for Pendulum CrossFit, even though we own both domain names. The CrossFit was what they were looking for. And we were, that piece. Then we knew that eventually we wanted to evolve. So Pendulum Fitness now appeals to a much broader audience, and so that it's not as scary, because that's what has happened with CrossFit, is that it's evolved and people assume like injuries and I'm going to get hurt. You're a Billy Badass and all those things. And it's just like you've experienced with your own students, like, oh, Gwendolyn, our professor does CrossFit. She's so tough. She's such a badass. And you're like, well, I mean, I'm
Exactly. That's how it goes. What does fitness mean to you? Because going from that CrossFit name to Pendulum Fitness, what is your underscoring idea of fitness?
Oh boy,
What does it mean to be fit? Because in my mind, I'm thinking this is what I think, is that it's also an emotional experience. It's a mental and emotional experience being fit.
And we'd be remiss, if you don't mind, if we don't talk about everyone's reaction to Adele's weight loss when we're talking about this. I just wanted to throw that out there just in case somebody forgot to bring that up. But we have to talk about how we're supposed to react to that, I think.
Well, I'm a little annoyed. Somebody posted this sorry, Drew. Someone posted this perfect thing that this woman won 15 Grammys and all everybody can talk about is her accomplishment with her weight. Okay, but anyway, Drew, what does fitness mean to you?
a good point. I wasn't arguing one way or the other, but I do think we got to talk about something controversial here because that's my name. It's Rudy Controversial Salo.
Rudy, that is why I keep you. Thank you.
I know I'm around for
that and the great hair.
It is great hair. It's growing too long. It's growing into a mullet. Okay, sorry.
Drew, what is fitness?
Fitness is, for us, it's a broad encompassing word, right? And there is, CrossFit has defined it, and I can give you the CrossFit's definition of fitness. That to me is one of the best areas that you can explain it. So CrossFit's definition, which I still believe in, is it's eat meat, vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, keep intake to levels that will support exercise, but not body fat. Practice and train major lifts, deadlift, clean, squat, presses, clean and jerk, and snatch. Similarly, master the basics of gymnastics, pull-ups, dips, rope climbs, push-ups, sit-ups, presses to handstand, pirouettes, flips, splits and holds, bike, run, swim, row, etc., hard and fast. 5 or 6 days a week. Mix these elements in as many combinations and patterns as creativity will allow. Routine is the enemy. Keep workouts short and intense. Regularly learn and play new sports. Now, the other thing about fitness is that you have, this also ties into coronavirus right now, is that you have sickness, wellness, and fitness. Okay, you have those two spectrums of things. Actually, three. Sickness is on one side, fitness is on the other. Wellness is in the middle. And then you have, based on that wellness spectrum, you have what is blood pressure, body fat, bone density, triglycerides, HDL, LDL, cholesterol, glycated hemoglobin, muscle mass, etc. But the thing is that it's measuring one single quality, health. And so what we're able to do here is that taking that spectrum and saying, hey, where does fitness, if fitness is one side and then you have sickness on the other, there's a huge pendulum there. Weird, right? And so that's what we want people to swing to the other side, hence the name, and to live life in motion so that and that's our motto, is that there is movement to it all, right? There is an adjustment to that. And so it's not something that is one specific thing. It's ever ongoing and changing. And that makes for a much more enjoyable journey. And it actually makes fitness not so awful, miserable, insert like negativity to it, and can become a lot more enjoyable.
You know, what I loved about what you just described about fitness is it's focused on the health. And that's really what I'm so focused on the health. I'm glad you didn't say anything about being in shape or looking good or anything like that. You brought in the underlying health factors, the heart measures, the blood flow, everything that really should matter to everybody today during the coronavirus pandemic, because it's clear that people with underlying health concerns, and a lot of those underlying health concerns have to do with, let's just be honest, as a result of not having enough fitness, not having enough good heart health, those people are more at risk. So it's vitally important to be focusing on fitness as health, fitness as, hey, if you want to live long, you got to have fitness, especially today. I mean, if there's going to be any silver lining from the corona pandemic, I hope everyone that really, needed that kick in the butt to, turn their lives around and become healthy, do become healthy. I emailed a client last week, good friend of mine, we used to get together, we used to talk music, we used to drink a lot and do the conference circuit. And he said the number one thing that he's doing during the pandemic is taking better care of himself. And that made me super duper proud. And I'm hoping that other people take that point as well.
Yeah, it's really important to see that reps and sets are the process that you take to the other side of the spectrum. It's not how much weight you can lift. It's not how great that you look. Those things are byproducts to the process. those are the cherries on top, right? But you have to have a much larger base on a pyramid in order for it to be of any value.
You have seen, like I said, I think that there's an emotional connection. Something in philosophy we talk about is, what does it mean to live well? What is the good life? And I'm wondering, just from your experience, can you give us an example of a couple of members where you've seen a transformation, not just with their physical state, but it's branched out into other areas of their lives, like gain more confidence or happiness?
Yeah. So what we have found is that there is a huge endorphin dump, right? That happens at the end of a high intensity workout. And that's what makes at least CrossFit and our brand of fitness so intoxicating, if you will. It's because what ends up happening with people is that they go through the workout, it's really tough, and they overcome this really hard obstacle, and then they get this huge spike in endorphins, and it's more than just getting a bunch of likes on an Instagram post or a Facebook post. It's the validation is internal, right? And it's through hard work and effort. And then you start to look at yourself differently and you go, wow, I just did that. And if you were somebody that struggled with identity issues or, different ways of how you think about yourself, you start to reframe how you actually feel about yourself. And you say, oh, it changes the narrative. I am not this person. I'm not Adele, who, will bring her back up and all of this. Is that it's not like, hey, Adele was this overweight, talented singer, right? And she would be so much more successful if she were this weight, right? And she looked like Christina Aguilera at her peak. That stuff is ridiculous. And that, I think, that is the stuff that is put on people from the media, from, just being in the public eye. And I think that those things are really, really frustrating. And it's unfortunate that people have to go through that. But the other thing is that the thing that I applaud Adele for is that she went through that process and she didn't boast about her process at all.
Mm-hmm.
She just reappeared and was like, hello.
And her timing was, in my opinion, perfect for the pandemic and people who were suffering with weight. And I associate weight not with not like looking bad or nothing like that. I associate it with being a little bit unhealthy. And I've suffered with weight, and I've gone up and down from law school, from working in a law firm, and I have to work really hard to keep my weight down. I associate weight with being unhealthy, and her timing was excellent for the coronavirus pandemic. I hope more people focus on that aspect of it. The data is clear. Obesity is a big problem for the higher mortality rates, period. That's it. Obesity leads to diabetes. Diabetes puts you into that category of more at risk. So I'm so happy that Adele came out when she did with this. And she didn't need to, quote unquote, look good. She looked great before, but she still won 15 Grammys. God bless her, because she's great. She's got great talent. But at the end of the day, the focusing on the health is very, very important these days.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that is part of Drew's philosophy is live life in motion, which I think is really great, which Rudy, you would appreciate, because Rudy's really big on public transit and walking and getting people outside of their car so they can appreciate, like the outdoors and stuff like that. But this live life in motion, what are you going to say?
I was going to say pre-pandemic, I was all about getting
pre-pandemic. He was
now I'm like, everyone should have their own little pod and stay in their pod. Rudy's philosophy on transportation is ever evolving. And if you'd like to find out, go to Forbes.com and type in Rudy Salo and you'll see my evolution. Go ahead, Gwen. Sorry.
Well done, Rudy. Well done. Okay. So, but this idea of live life in motion, I think it's such a great motto. And it's also a way to enjoy your life, that it's, the health and the wellness and all of that. But I think that that's one of the aspects, is that it's part of what it means to be happy. And like you said, Drew, like the glamour, or I don't know, the abs or whatnot, that's all the byproduct. But what it's about is enjoying your life.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it's something that I think that people don't understand, is that, at least about our motto, is that if you live life in motion, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go one way. There's going to be times in your life that pendulum swings back in the other direction. and you're going to be not where you want to be. But movement is movement. And it's understanding that it is a process on how that we got to that end goal that one time. Doesn't mean that you maintain that for the rest of your life. That would be ideal and perfect, but we don't live in a perfect world. We have newborn babies. We have kids. We have businesses. We have clients that decide to send us, emails and text messages at 2 a.m. saying that you need to handle that case, and they're out at home, right? I mean, like whatever that is. I mean, like I'm sure you deal with this, Rudy, and it's not a straight line, and it moves all the time. That's what makes a great coach, is that they're just as dynamic and they're able to work with you wherever you're at. I've had a client that has lost 165 pounds in 1 year. Okay. He was my biggest success story, if you will. Fun part about that is he owns a pizza company. So like all the reason why not to lose weight, lost 165 pounds in a year. He lost me as a human being, as an adult, from 370 to 205. And guess what? He's gained some of that weight back slowly, right? And here we are again, losing weight again, doing the process. I don't chastise him for it. I understand that it's a fluid thing. It's not linear. We may program linearly, and that's how we help people achieve results so that they can track where they started and where they're going. But it's more about understanding that people are unique and dynamic, and you have to be able to meet them and adjust with them as a coach.
What is a common thread that you see when it comes to success stories? So even though you have a lot of different members, a lot of people you've worked with, is there something that the people who are able to go move forward with their fitness and health goals, that there's a common thread?
A powerful why.
Okay.
So a why, like Simon Sinek, as most people know, like it starts with why. You have to have something deeply rooted inside of you, and it has to be more than a bikini body or, like I want abs. We all do, but the abs aren't going to keep you working towards your end goal. It has to be intrinsically motivated. There has to be deeper rooted things there that you go, I'll show up for that.
I want to get rid of my chicken legs because I want Gwen to stop laughing at me. Is that good? Is that a good thing, or is that not good enough?
I think if your whole entire goal is based on Gwen's approval, you got bigger problems.
Damn it. I got to come up with my why. Okay, that's good. Thank you. I needed that.
Well, by the same token, is there a number one sabotager for somebody getting in their own way?
Themselves.
When do you see it? Like how is that expressed to you? Like as a coach, when you see that somebody's struggling and you realize that they are getting in their own way, how do you handle it? How do you recognize it?
So, what's really interesting is that we see it honestly around 14 days when somebody first signs up, because it's really great to start. Right. And if you look back at when all of the coronavirus quarantine shutdown happened, everybody, if you wanted to start a fitness program, there was never a better time to start fitness programs for free. Why? Because you could go onto Instagram, YouTube, anywhere and get a free program. They were everywhere. What happens is that 2 weeks later, go back onto Instagram, those channels and things like that. How many of those people are still doing that? None. A lot. It's very few and far between. So it's really hard. And that's what I saw, like even throughout, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to use this time to get fit. Well, a lot of those people, it doesn't matter because they didn't actually have anything set up as a concrete reason of why that they wanted to stay fit or get fit or whatever that looks like for them. And there has to be a deeper meaning behind it all. Because the thing is that when it becomes difficult, when it's 9 o'clock at night and you're hungry again, what's the thing that's going to keep you out of the cookie jar?
Right.
There has to be something far more, there has to be accountability built in. There has to be like why you're actually doing it. Right. And for me, I'll just be vulnerable, is that I don't want to let my kids down in a certain way, that they see me as this strong person that daddy works out and all of these things. I also want to be able to kind of prove that to them. And when they want to go out and play, that I actually have energy to do that, that when they ask to be carried up to bed, that I actually have the strength to be able to do that. And that's actually how I measure my fitness, is that if I am able to carry both kids up the stairs and then to bed, I'm doing okay with my fitness. And they're 7 and 5.5 right now. So they're getting bigger.
That is very, you can carry both of them at the same time?
Yep.
Wow, man, that is impressive. Serious. I got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I mean, I could carry them. And then the 2-year-old's getting some weight on them. But wow, you've set a high bar for me. So now I'm going to have to carry my kids until they're 10 and 12 because you just set such a high bar. I got to beat that bar.
Guess what happens? Well, you've already passed the bar, so you're already good there. Anyway, that's my dad joke for the day. But the thing that, at least for my kids, is that, and my 7-year-old, she is dense, man. She's big. She's always been just thick. Like she was the little Charmin roll baby, like it was where her rolls had rolls. And so she has like always been a big kid, and carrying both of them, I measure that and go like, oh man, like I'm out of breath, or, oh, I'm missing some strength. So I need to get back. And I use that as a measure. Now, here's the thing, truth be told, they're going to get to a point to where it's going to have to go down to one kid. Right. And it may just be, putting them on my back and walking up the stairs. However, that needs to evolve. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. At a certain point, it'll just get weird. Right. It'll just be, well, Daddy, I can't get up the stairs. You got to carry me. And then, people are around. It could get a little strange at that point, at a certain point. So I do hear you. Carrying one kid never gets weird.
It pulls out the video camera and is like filming it, waiting for something to go wrong. Yeah.
I want to say you have got very great coaches working for you at Pendulum. What are for anyone maybe interested in fitness or whatnot, what are some traits that you look for in coaches? Because you've managed to just crank out some really great people there.
I think
what makes a good coach?
Oh man. So the first thing that makes a good coach is that they care. You can't replace somebody that cares. They have to, 1, care about people. 2, they have to be coachable. That's such a huge thing. I've hired and fired people that just weren't coachable, right? Like it just didn't work out. They cared about their people. They met that criteria, but they just weren't coachable. That's the second thing. You got to be able to receive feedback that you're not doing a good job with your class, right? So you're, or hey, next time try saying this, and then you see them not be able to do it. You have to equally be able to grow as a person in the same way that when you were in my class as an athlete, that I asked you to do something, that is a universal skill set. You have to be able to be willing to adapt and grow as a person. So being coachable is number 2. Number 3, you got to have some science. If you don't have science, like, how are you going to be able to comprehend what's going on with the body, what's going on with somebody, what that muscle group is? There has to be a level of expertise there. Mm-hmm. Number 4 is it doesn't hurt for you to be dynamic, because boring people, nobody wants to take your class.
Oh, hey, yeah. I can appreciate that. What is something that from when you started and you know how to coach, you know how to train, you've got the science, you're dynamic. How have you evolved personally? Like what have you learned from maybe from your members or from taking the role of being the coach to coaching other coaches? And then maybe what have your members taught you about fitness or about health or about wellness?
2 things primarily that stand out. 1, when we started this entire thing, I sucked at delegation. So I needed to learn on how to give off of my plate, like the things that were adding up. Because the thing is that my coaches knew and or had things that were going to be able to benefit us. It wasn't the same capacity that I was able to do that. But in order for the business to grow, every single time that I've delegated something to someone or given that away, the business has grown because I was the limiting factor. Any entrepreneur that you talk to, they are the limiting factor in their business, always. So you have to kind of get out of the way and allow for your people to grow and evolve so that the business can evolve. So that's really important. That's 1. I learned on how to delegate. 2, I learned that, and I have been learning, is that I need to be more vulnerable and allow people to see me as, like who I am, so that people don't think that I'm just this business owner, but I allow for them to see me as true, authentically me.
What are some tips for staying fit during the lockdown, other than joining Pendulum and doing the Zoom classes, which are fantastic, by the way? What are some tips for people?
So we do have an online remote program so that we It was something that we were actually going to start in the fall, and due to this entire pandemic, we were able to bring it forward and showcase our abilities to the world. And we have people from literally all over the country right now that are doing our program online, which has been really, really cool.
Wow.
And it's been really fun to see people that have moved away come back and rejoin because they can. And we have a platform for them to do that now. So that's been really fun. So Pendulum Online is a thing. The other thing is that the first thing that people can do in order to start their fitness journey with, being on lockdown or wherever you're at, is that you just got to start moving. That's it. One foot in front of the other is even if it's as small as just going for a walk, right? And saying, I'm going to go for a 45-minute walk today, and being okay with that. That's a great start.
Drew, if you don't mind me asking, getting into specifics, the first thing I did on lockdown, because I had been going to a personal trainer, somebody that I walk to right next to my house, because I started to get serious about fitness because I've been doing more acting, more voice stuff, and I just wanted to get healthier because I got young children and I didn't like the direction that my body was going, so I focused on it. That all shut down, and I built kind of a little home studio. And you mentioned reps and sets. It's very difficult these days during the pandemic to actually get some weighty weights, to get the 35 pounds, to get the 45 pounds. I've been able to get some 25 pounds for my bench press. And, I've kind of built, bought some 2.5s, bought some 10s. When you say reps and sets, can you explain the philosophy behind that and what's a good approach as to reps and sets? For example, I was doing, because I only had so many weights on my bench press, I only could get it up to 80 pounds because that's all what I could buy out there. I mean, I've gotten it up to higher than that. So I would do like 3 or 4 sets of 25 reps. Yeah. Is that good? Give me some more meat on the reps and sets philosophy, please.
So I'm sure Gwen probably experiences this, is that the more that you learn, the more that you know, the more complex it is. And you're like, oh man, this is really hard. So let me make this as simple as possible.
Please.
Starting with, now this is going to sound super generic. All right. And if you're into fitness and you're listening to this right now, you're going to be like, I can't believe he went there. But 3x15. So 3 sets, 15 reps is a great place to start. Why? Because 15 reps is what we call a muscular endurance training volume. Okay. So 45 reps total is a good place for a foundational body to start from. And then from there, because it's not like people are going to be able to have the capacity to go and do a 1 rep max and say like, I'm going to get the heaviest weight possible and go all out on it. It's not possible, and nor is it actually a good thing to do while on quarantine, because let me tell you something, your body still understands stress. So it doesn't matter where it's coming from. If you're stressed out from your work, if you're stressed out because you're losing sleep, because you have a newborn, whatever that is, that stress is still happening to you and to your body. Your body does not have the ability to comprehend where it's coming from. Okay. So starting with 3x15 is a good place to start from. Now you're like, well, I've only got 10-pound weights at home, right? And I can jam out 3x15 really, really easily. Great. Then I would add some complexity to it and say, can you give me 3x15 with tempo? And what tempo means is controlling it. So let's just say we're doing a shoulder press, all right? And we're loaded in that front rack position, and then we're going to press over our head, right? It's going to be a 3-second up. So 1, 2, 3, pause at the top, and then a 3-second down, right? Pause for a second at the bottom. Repeat that for 15 reps on each arm. What do you have? My arms were starting to burn. Oh man, that was tough. That was like, and now you start to, it doesn't matter the amount of the weight, it matters how you control it. And there's another thing called the neuromuscular response. That's where your brain taps into your muscle and they are communicating and talking. That is still a really powerful thing. And that's how you'll see really advanced lifters, not even using a whole lot of weight, but they are connecting their brain, their muscle, and then it changes things.
Let me ask, on the 3x15, is that 3x15 of whatever weights that I have. Let's say I've gotten the bench now up to 130 pounds. Do I do 15 of 100, 15 of 120, 15 of 130, or because I can easily do 15, 130, 15, 130, 15, 130?
I would say start with a simple baseline of all 3 sets are going to be the exact same weight.
Perfect. That's exactly what I needed to know. Thank you very much.
And Drew, if you need any legal advice, you can ask Rudy right now.
Yes. Would you like to know how to issue a municipal bond? I can tell you how to do that. First, you need to be a government or a nonprofit. Then we can talk.
Okay.
Can you get me the nonprofit status so that I can get my student loans waived after 10 years? How about we get me that classification? We'll start up a nonprofit line just so I can get my student loans waived. I'm in.
I'm trying to learn because it has been so long ago, student debt consolidation. I'm trying to relearn how to do that. I'll figure that part out. And if you need help with that, I'll definitely help you out.
Well, there you go. So wrapping things up, Drew, you have got a podcast for Pendulum. How is that going? What is the podcast about?
So we have a podcast. It's called the Pendulum Podcast.
You can find it on Spotify, Apple.
All the platforms.
All the places, just like this one. Okay.
We're friends in the interwebs. What's crazy is that we started the podcast. I was in a band back in the day, and so I had all this old recording gear. Name
of the band?
Leap Year.
Oh, is that in honor of your non-birthday?
That's right.
Okay. All right. Continue.
It's a good name. As a former punk, I'm still a punk rocker, but as a former band person, I dig that name, Leap Year. Good job. Thumbs up on that.
Really, appreciate that. What's really cool about the band is that we were a profitable band. We actually had made money. And so we had recorded and played here in LA, and we set a time limit of 2 years to try and make it. And because that's what happens with a lot of bands is that they will set, they won't set a timeline. They just keep playing. And next thing you know, dudes are 45 and still trying to break into the industry. But that was at least back in the 90s before music died. So I had this gear, and we started the podcast called the Pendulum Podcast. And that was to feature local Pasadena people, our members, and to be able to offer a little bit deeper content of education on science, get to know our members, and also to increase awareness about other Pasadena businesses and things like that. So that was going really well all the way up until this thing called the coronavirus.
I get it.
It'll come back and be better than ever.
So when Pendulum does open up again, what are you looking forward to?
Gwen, that's not the question. It's when Pendulum opens back up again, are we going to be your first guests? I always have
I'm not talking about the podcast. I'm talking about the actual gym.
Well, I'm talking about the podcast. I just
Rudy
want to get on
is
as many podcasts as humanly possible. I'm a podcast whore is what I am. That's what I am. That's a podcast whore.
We'll have to figure out a way on how to because I'll need a bigger mixer because I only have 2 ports. So unless you guys want to share a mic.
I don't know.
And Zoom just goes so well.
Well, I just, with the whole socially distanced thing, as long as I could wear a Darth Vader mask, that's fine. I could share a mic.
Well, okay. Well, back to Pendulum, the actual location. Drew, what are you looking forward to? When it all opens up, what do you miss? What are you excited about?
I'm excited about seeing our people again. I'm excited about coaching in person again and seeing movement done there. It's different seeing it on a Zoom call because we're still doing that. And I'm just excited to be able to see people and here's the crazy thing. Some of you guys I have known for 6+ years, and I've seen you for 6+ years, a couple times, 3, 4 times, 5 times a week. Right. And then coronavirus happens. And then I haven't seen some of these people for 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden they pop up in a class. And it's hey, and we do the equipment and it's it's good to see you. And they're behind a mask. It's that's the part that I'm really looking forward to again, is just seeing our people.
Yeah. Rudy, any final questions? Any final thoughts?
3 by 15. 3 by 15. 3 by 15. That's exactly what I needed to get out of this. I mean, I'm going to implement that. I loved hearing the discussion on fitness and tying fitness to health. I loved hearing that because that's my philosophy as well. And I really enjoyed being on the show with you. And I'd probably like to maybe check out one or two of your classes. Can you give out the website name so we and our many, many listeners can check it out?
Yeah. So our remote program is joinpendulum.com. That can be done anywhere here in LA or across. We got people in Monterey and Seattle, Texas. So, we got people that are doing this program remotely, or if, for the brick and mortar, it's pendulum.fit.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you, Drew.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thanks,
I'll be doing a Zoom class at 5.
You'll have Astrid as your coach.
Oh, yay. Okay. Well, have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you guys too.
Take care, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. And again, if you would like to support the show, please rate and review. And if you want to get in touch via Twitter, it's @Dolske or @InTheDetailsPod. And I hope you're all staying safe. I hope you're washing your hands and stop hoarding the toilet paper. Bye.